Okay, I literally just put that on just to see how this whole countdown video is supposed to be. But anyways, what's up, everybody? My name is Nate. Welcome to another episode of the Loud House Talks. On my right side is Omid Ramadesh. How you doing, sir?
What is up, Loud Crowd and Casa Crew? How y'all doing? Hope y'all enjoying a nice Halloween month, like planning some stuff for Halloween, even despite the circumstances. I'm still hoping that you guys are, having the spooky time of your lives, watching horror movies and all that stuff.
For sure. All right. So how have your week been so far? We haven't met each other for 2 weeks, so how you been?
Oh, my last 2 weeks have been good, actually. So I recently got a job at Paris Baguette. And it's a part-time job, so I'm not working like full-time. I work like about a couple of days a week. But when I'm not working, I'm still doing volunteer work in my local food bank, so I'm keeping busy no matter what. And by the way, speaking of getting new jobs, Nate, I heard that you got a new job as well, so
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you fill us in? Like, why don't you tell us all about it, man?
Yeah, I mean, I just got a new job. I just started this Monday. It was absolutely fun because it really was a job that I think they really want to keep me. So I'm absolutely happy to be over at this company that's closer to my house. The previous job I had was not that great. They didn't give me a lot of benefits at all. So I would say not that I really wanted to be there for, to help them out. But I gotta say, this new job has been so much better. I've been adjusting to my coworkers right now. So, when you're in your first week of your work, you just need to get yourself ready, get yourself set up and all. So yeah, I've been having fun with the new job and all.
Nice, man. Hey, listen, congratulations, bro. Congratulations. And
Thank you so
I wish you the best of luck. I wish you the best of
Yeah,
luck.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. And by the way, you were working at my old job at Paris Baguette. How's that going?
Yeah, it's no coincidence, really. I think the difference is the location of it. But yeah, you're right. I remember like Paris Baguette, it was one of your first jobs, too.
It is. Yeah. So you're welcome. You're back in my old home ground. All right. All right. So let's go without further ado. Let's go ahead and head straight to our recent news. Okay. So let's pop up the little flyer up here.
Yeah.
All right. So on to our recent news. Now, yeah, I got to put that up. Make sure that everyone's get ready for this. But anyways, back to our recent news. So let's go ahead and talk about our first thing here. Well, we didn't expect this, but guess what's back? The Lincoln and Ronnie Ann, aka Ronniekin, vlogs on YouTube. So Lincoln and Ronnie Ann talk about their Halloween plans as well as their favorite Halloween costume. So first off, Omid, as well, how did you like that they brought back the vlogs?
Well, it makes me very happy that they brought back the vlogs because I have always enjoyed the interactions between Lincoln and Ronnie Ann. Every time they share scenes together, it really does show like a genuine friendship between the two. And it keeps building up and building up each time we see them. Now, some may say that it may be more than friendship, but to be honest, we'll see what the future holds. And I also love that they did a Halloween vlog because that means that they are filming in new views. This time, they're doing it outside at night with Halloween decorations in the background, which helps create a spooky kind of environment for a Halloween-themed vlog like this.
To say the least, it's absolutely special that they're going to do a Halloween vlog. Just because, hey, we haven't seen a vlog for so long, and just the fact that Ronnie Ann and Lincoln are just pairing up together, having fun, and it's kind of weird because like when I see the whole clips, I just saw like all of them just hanging out and, well, not really, just them just talking about like the recent stuff that happened, like what they do at Halloween, their costumes that they wore. Apparently, Lincoln said that she dressed up as a Lily, which is true, which happened over in Cover Girls. And apparently Ronnie Ann knows about it now. So that's actually pretty cute for them to actually know about that. But yeah, I love the whole tradition. I love the whole thing that they do together to have them interact again, since we've never seen a vlog for so long. And now possibly we might actually see more vlogs with Ronnie Ann and Lincoln. So let's hope. Fingers crossed for that. Now, how did you like the callbacks to the previous Halloween episodes? Tricked, You Hots, others that were also explained there?
Well, I love that they shared their memories of their respective Halloween episodes because it goes with the spirit of Halloween itself when doing the vlogs. And this is actually quite inspirational because during this time where we are Zooming our friends and family who live far from us, this is actually a sort of a inspiration we could take from them in order to spend Halloween time this year to share our Halloween memories with other people when we converse with other people with virtual chats or Zoom meetings, sort of like what Lincoln and Ronnie Ann did with this vlog.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna really have that same interaction when we have our Halloweens anymore. We can't even go to like Chipotle anymore and actually hang out and get a free burrito anymore. Those good times. Remember when we always have to go to Chipotle and get a burrito in our costumes and all?
Yeah, I also remember Halloween haunts from Great America. That was something.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
That's something I did last year with my friend, and I can't do it this year, unfortunately, which is sad.
Yeah, but at least they interact together. I think it's kind of like a thing where it's like, okay, we can't really go out and trick or treat anymore or do all these Halloween parties, but we're gonna go ahead and just do these vlogs, which is still a good catch up time for Ronnie and Lincoln, just to see how things are going and see how their Halloween plans are. So I really do like the fact that they talk about their Halloween plans and how Halloween is for them. So hope. I mean, like we also are going to be talking about their Halloween plans, aka the new Halloween episodes that just came out. But we're going to talk about that in the next episode. Either way, it is going to be interesting to see how. It was really interesting to see how that went. All right, so let's go ahead and move over to another thing. Sorry, we're continuing on with this talk. So, what are your favorite outfits from the Casa Grandes and the Louds?
Well, Sid is a lobster, of course. Well, lobster or crab, whatever. I would say, yeah, lobster. Because, well, it's Sid as a lobster. You can't get more adorable than that. Luna as a skeleton, no bias here. Laurie as a vampire looks very attractive, in my opinion. Luann as Dr. Frankenstein is so fun and creative to see. And last but not least, Lucy Loud as the Grim Reaper because, well, let's be obvious, it's Lucy Loud.
Yeah, I have to bring it up to Sid. I really do like her as a lobster as well, and also Ronnie Ann as a was it a mime? Oh, it's not a mime. She was a gumball also, but then again, those two were actually portraying as mimes also in the episode New Haunts, and I think that was actually pretty creative of them for being in sweatshirts and trying to act out as mimes. So yeah, I like those. Of course, Laurie, just because she's my favorite, and I absolutely adore Laurie in whatever outfit she's into. I also did like I'll have to give props to all the young Louds that were also in costume as well. I mean, they Lisa as a kangaroo, Lola and Lana as being salt and pepper shakers. I think that's actually really creative what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, those costumes are pretty cool. It was what kind of be interesting is that we would love to see them in more other costumes if possible, but we only have those 2 episodes of the Halloween episodes, so yeah. Okay, so let's move on. They listed down their siblings with what costumes they should be for Halloween, which is like more of callbacks to previous Loud House episodes. Which ones do you think work for a Halloween costume?
Well, I would personally go with Lucy as Edwin's bride, and Carl and CJ as the Lucha Libre wrestlers, and Lenny Loud in her special driving outfit.
It's actually kind of creative what they were doing there with having like a callback to an episode that was not even a Halloween episode, like Lenny Loud as a driver, in a driving outfit and all. But yeah, some callbacks were kind of cool. I mean, Lily in a werewolf outfit, that was Cheers for Fears. I thought that was pretty creative that they brought that up there. And then what else? Was it CJ and Carl? The fact that they were going to be luchadors, so makes sense on that one too. And I think like Carlota did have like a Halloween costume. I forgot what it was, but another creative callback. Wait, a fashionista like detective or something. So she's like wearing a detective garb. So I would imagine it being like a I don't know. It's just them being creative because it's like, yeah, we don't have any clips of the Loud House or the Casa Grandes in brand new outfits, but hey, we're just gonna call you back on a certain couple episodes where they're in outfits, and we'll just slap it on there just for a Halloween fun,
Honestly, and speaking of the ones that I just mentioned, a few of them are callbacks to some of my favorite episodes of season one, like Lucia's Edwin's Bride in Tyler's Tale, and Lenny in her special driving outfit and driving Miss Hazy.
Right. That I love those. I mean, I like those too. But I do like I said, it's just the callbacks, which I thought was creative for the Loud House editing team, because I would imagine when they made this vlog, it's pretty much having Isabella Alvarez and Asher Bishop just pretty much all in their rooms recording, and then they pretty much made the compilation of animations together, and of course bring some of the old clips back into this vlog, which I thought was actually really creative.
Good stuff, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So last question: what Halloween episode from the Loud House and the Casa Grandes is your favorite overall?
Well, if we have to go with overall, I would say it's Tricked, because it's colorful, it's spooky, and it captures the true spirit of Halloween. And of course, it has one of the absolute best songs in the Loud House. You got tricked.
Okay, good stuff. I have to say, I love Tricked. I mean, that's absolutely like one of my favorite episodes overall, just because how amazing the episode is. From, like, you're right, Obi, the colorization to the story of what it is, because it's like, oh, bullies started to trash your neighborhood, so you end up getting revenge by going to the haunted court maze and giving them a good scare, But I also have to give out One Flew Over the Loud House. That's actually one of my favorite episodes. Okay, people might not say that's a Halloween episode, but it did come out during Halloween. And it is a creepy episode because it's pretty much a survival episode when they try to make sure that they don't get sick and all.
You know what? Actually, now that you mentioned One Flew Over the Loud House, if you're going to count that, you know what? I'm honestly going to have to change my answer to that. One Flew Over the Loud House is one of my absolute favorite episodes of the entire series, because I love the whole twist that they take. They have their own spin on a zombie apocalypse story, and I am a fan of zombie apocalypse stories myself. So honestly, this is something that it's really something that I look at this and I just really appreciate the writers for doing, in terms of taking this apocalyptic tale and try to spin it to make it seem like it's a big house full of your siblings and your parents who caught the flu, and you're trying to avoid, the sickness. It's sort of kind of like how we're living right now in 2020, pretty much.
To say the least, yeah. Just got to spray our siblings with chicken noodle soup just in case things happen.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, that was it for the vlogs. There was also another news that also came out. We also did have two books that came out: the Winter Special, the graphic novel, and the Ultimate Party, which, by the way, I have here. These two books just came out, so I hope you all got your copies. So let's actually just briefly go through some of the stuff that happened in the books. First off, let's go to the Winter Special, because I read through most of that. What was your favorite comic overall throughout those comics in the graphic novel?
Well, okay. First and foremost, I have the physical copy of the Ultimate Party, and I have the digital copy of the Winter Special graphic novel saved onto my iPad. Okay. So now, some of my favorites that I can say is, well, the part that we see Lisa and Darcy. Darcy's coming back. Woo!
Yeah.
Invades Darcy's home, and Lola invades her friend's home. Some of the sisters try to see what the presents are, what's inside those presents, and at the end they get in trouble for it. And then Lynn Senior is like, I wonder what's on my box or something like that, and read all of them. It was just fun to see, mainly for the fact that, like I said, we got to see Darcy, and we got to see some of the Loud sisters teaming up in order to complete a mission, which is to see what the gifts are. Oh, another one of my favorites too is when Lincoln and his friends hang out, and the laptop isn't working, but Stella comes to the rescue to fix it. I like that one too.
I actually like that too. Although to be honest, it's just a thing that ITs do. It's an IT joke where it's like, have you turned the thing off and on again, and then it works. I'm like, yeah, this is Stella, and I absolutely love that just because Stella's my favorite girl. So,
I think Stella being an IT in the future, like I can really sense a sort of like a career day episode in which Stella is taken under Mr. Grouse's wing, and Mr. Grouse tries to teach Stella about the ways of IT and stuff. I kind of want that episode to happen because
that'd be interesting. I actually would like that too, just to see those two interact. Have a Mr. Grouse and Stella episode, maybe they might work something like try to fix something in a company, maybe where Mr. Grouse is, and have Stella come in. That could be a good episode.
It works, but it works better than a Flip and Lisa episode for sure. But
dear, let's not talk about the Flip and Lisa episode. Oh my god! I mean, like we're gonna be yeah, I have to say, let's not talk about that episode because the way that I saw that preview, I'm like, this is not gonna be well. All right, so let's move on to what was it? Oh, sorry. Let me talk to you about one of my favorite comics that was there. Sid and Ronnie Ann, when they were going to a field trip, when they were going to go in the snow, and then of course Sid was pretty scared about going through like this snowboarding and all. So she brought her what is it, a raccoon or something, and apparently the raccoon wanted to snowboard, so she had to grab her. At the same time, Sid and Ronnie Ann started snowboarding together, which is kind of cool because it's like a little Sidati moment. Because Sid and Ronnie Ann, those two are like great BFFs and all. It's kind of like Click and McCloud, for example. So having those two interact, having those two snowboard off and everything like that, and of course trying to figure out like why do we have to go through the rough side instead of just walking through the other side, which is like, okay, this was kind of a corny little move that they did there, but it was fun just to see Sid face her fears and actually go into snowboarding, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, I want to also bring up that other comic that you were talking about. The Darcy one is was it the episode where was it Lola, Lana, and Lisa went to the best friends and tried to find their gifts and all. One thing in particular that I also wanted to point out is that Lenny was driving. And I didn't know that she was got to be a driver. I'm like, wait a minute. We have missed something out here. Like, where is it at? Season 5. We have not seen an episode where Lenny was driving, right? So when I saw that in the comic book, I'm like, okay, we have to really address that now in season 5 of The Loud House.
We never even see Lenny drive like on her own aside from this episode. Like, when did she get a driver's license? Last time we saw Lenny at work, she was getting picked up by Rita in A Boss Maybe. She didn't even drive to work herself.
Exactly. So, well, the other thing too is like we have never seen like Lenny. It would be behind the driver's seat since what was it, Driving Miss Hazy. So we have never seen Lenny drive at all, and until now she's apparently driving. So I'm like, okay, where did that loophole come from? I guess a continuation is somewhere along the lines of the comic book or in the Loud House. So I'd imagine maybe one episode where we actually go back into Driving Miss Hazy and actually bring back Lenny and driving again.
Yeah, I think another one of my favorites is the hot chocolate comic.
Oh yeah, that was a good one too.
The one where Rosa and Stanley have their own signature hot chocolates, and Ronnie Ann and Sid tried each other's loved one's signature hot chocolate.
By the way, they have the recipe there on the comic book. So if you want to make your own recipe, you want to make your own like Ronnie Ann hot chocolate or Sid's hot chocolate, you can do that, by the way. But the other thing too, I also want to bring up is remember Adelaide's comic where Adelaide, Sid and Ronnie Ann were making something, and then Adelaide ruined it all. And then at the end it was kind of cute where Adelaide will become the chef again. It's like
yeah. I remember that episode. Like, you could tell Adelaide didn't mean to make a mess of things, and that I think that this comic really does show how interested Adelaide really is in cooking and baking. So I definitely could see her being like some sort of like, I don't know, baker in a sense in the future. Who knows? Like if zookeeping doesn't work out, maybe she can be baker or chef or something.
Yeah, that could be a good thing too. Also, but yeah, that's pretty much what I can talk about when it comes to the graphic novel. There's been a couple hit or miss, but I have to say the overall comic for this one is actually really good.
Yeah, it's really good too. Yeah, I definitely think so too. Like it's a definitely a good addition to the Loud House graphic novel series.
Right. All right, so let's move over to the Ultimate Party. Have you actually read this one before? Because I actually haven't had the chance to read this. Have you?
I would say that I'm pretty much just a couple of chapters into it.
Okay, so can you give me a little foretelling of what I'm going to expect from this book?
Well, let's see. Lincoln. So there's this big Ace Savvy movie event that is coming to Royal Woods, and Lincoln tries to make plans with Clyde to go see this big Ace Savvy movie, um, but unfortunately for him, um, it's the same day as their parents' anniversary.
Oh,
That's
okay. So what? Lincoln is trying his best to go through to make both parties, for example, or is he, or he's making an ultimate party to have both of them together?
Well, I haven't read much of the book, so from what I can foreshadow, I think I can foreshadow that Lincoln is going to try to uh, make his parents' anniversary the best it's ever been because from what I've read in the back description, in according to the description of the book, apparently, the Loud's parents' anniversary parties end up in a disaster in one way or another.
Okay, interesting. Well, I mean, I have to check out the chapter book myself a little later on. I do love what they have in this chapter book. They actually do have stickers, so if anybody wants to decorate their iPad or anything that they want to decorate with, they could go ahead and pick up these stickers when it comes with the book and just like slap it on there.
Yeah, but believe me, my laptop and my car, both of them are filled with stickers. So
Really?
I don't know if I can add any more. I don't know if I can add.
I gotta go look at your car now.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So let's that's it for our recent news. Let's move on to our actually wait, forgot about that. We also do have another breaking news that actually came up. We have a brand new special that'll be coming out called Cursed. We didn't expect this to be coming out maybe until November, but we now know a little bit more this Sunday when we actually heard about what was it? A clip that just got released out from Nick Australia from all places, and apparently the Casa Grandes are going back to Royal Woods. So I was actually surprised when I saw that. So I did not expect that at all, and I was absolutely hyped, like what Omid is doing right now. No, I did not. So we're gonna have another Ronnie added. We're gonna have another Loud Casa Grande crossover again, which we have never seen it. We never seen since Loudest Thanksgiving. We know how that episode went. Now let's move over to this one. It looks very exciting because it's pretty much the Casa Grande sleeping over or possibly just hanging out in the Loud House while this curse has fallen under Great Lake City. So from what you've seen from the video clips, Omid, how are you reacting to what you saw from this new special Cursed?
Oh my God. Yes. The moment I saw the clip from beginning to end, there was a huge smile on my face as I was watching. Like, I've always wanted to see the Louds meet the Casa Grandes again for the second time. But there's a possibility, there's even a chance that it could be even better than Loudest Thanksgiving. One thing that can really help elevate this to be even better than Loudest Thanksgiving is that it can have personal interactions between each Loud and Casa Grande. Because honestly, while I found the Loudest Thanksgiving to be a good episode, I felt that it was kind of lacking in the personal interactions. We just see one family facing off the other, and that's pretty much it. I would love to see a Lenny Carlota interaction, a Carl and Lola interaction, a Carlos and Lisa interaction, a Maria and Rita interaction. The list goes on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And another thing too is that as I was seeing the plot of the episode and how it was going to unravel, I kept thinking to myself, okay, I wonder, since there's going to be 25 people total in that house, how are their sleeping arrangements going to work?
Good question, actually. And we actually had a big conversation about this. Apparently, you want Ronnie and Lincoln in the same room.
Yeah, that would be like my ultimate dream sleeping arrangement. Just have Lincoln and Ronnie Ann sleeping in Lincoln's room, in the same room, and on the same bed.
Oh my God, this is just
Yes.
the way you phrase it just makes it sound sick somehow.
I'm sort of thinking of just drawing a fan art of just Lincoln and Ronnie Ann just sleeping next to each other.
I can't say they're quote unquote. Look, I can't say they're quote unquote cuddling. That's just gonna make it look gross too. But hey,
the other.
The other thing too is that when Lincoln came over, he brought his sleeping bag. So I would imagine that Ronnie Ann is probably going to do the same thing as well, bring her sleeping bag over. But it'd be cool if a little interaction comes in where it's like, "Hey, Lincoln, I'm feeling a little shy. I don't like your floor. Can I go sleep in your bed?" And that'll be a little cute moment for all the Rodican fans out there.
the entire fandom would go wild. They go bananas for that.
You know our good friend Sunny, right? She's wild already, considering what she just saw in this. In just this 2-minute clip, for example.
Yeah, honestly, like me and Sunny were even talking about it this morning about how sleeping arrangements will work, and I brought up that if Lincoln and Ronnie Ann were to be sleeping in the same room, oh my God, we would go ballistic. Wild.
Oh my God. Well, let's see how it all happens, but it's only 2 minutes, and we're going to have a big house of 22 people, and they're going to be in this this whole episode of Curse. It looks to be like a 30-minute episode, so I can't wait to see how this goes. I really want to see the interactions between every Casa Grande and every Loud. Like Carlota and Lenny, for example, Lori and Bobby, obviously. Carl and Lola. I already saw that interaction over in that clip. Apparently, Carl is still being a jerk to Lola.
There was a time where I considered a ship, but then again, Carlade, but we'll get to that later.
No, Carlade is Carlade, I think it's official now. We'll talk more about it as we go to our episode reviews. But yeah, this looks to be promising. We did not expect Cursed to actually have the Casa Grandes go over to the Loud House. So like high praises for that. Like no one expected this until this morning. And we were blessed that we're going to have a Cursed episode of Cursed with another Loud House Casa Grande crossover coming up. So
here.
Hell yeah. All right. So without further ado, let's head over to our episode reviews. We're going to be quick about this, so don't worry about it. So let's head over to our first episode called Strife of the Party. All right, there you go. Strife of the Party. Her synopsis here says, when Lola learns that Lana's planning their joint birthday, she does everything to stop it. So the story is pretty much Lana setting up their birthday party, since Lola has been doing it for their previous birthdays, even when they were not born yet. So what did you think about this idea for the story?
First of all, like, how do you even plan a party if you're not even born yet? How does that work? But I digress. Now, ever since I heard about this story, I have been looking forward to this episode to air. Not only is it the first Loud birthday episode of the entire series, but it is also a birthday episode that focuses on the twins turning 7. Now, the twins themselves, I have to say, they are my favorite sibling pairing. Now, some might say Lincoln and Lori, others may say Lori and Lenny. Some of the others may even say Lucy and Lynn. Hell, others may say Luna and Luann. Now, even though they are my top 2 favorite characters, they don't have much sibling bond compared to the others I just mentioned. But the thing with Lana and Lola is that something that just really touches my heart is just the fact that they are look-alike twins, yet they are totally complete opposites of each other. However, despite how many differences they have, they still have respect and love for each other no matter what. And whatever differences they have, they respect them. And their episodes often end up being so great and so fun to watch just because of the bond that these two share.
So I have to say, I was going into this episode and I didn't expect it to be like, oh, I didn't know that Lola was doing all these parties. So I would imagine when Lana had the chance to change the party up, it's going to be a whole lot different because Lola is obviously pretty and does a lot of things with glitter and makes everything all pretty and sparkly. Lana's so much different. She's a total polar opposite of Lola, and she obviously wants to make things dirty, like have dirty balloons, have mud, have dirt all over the place. So Lola was not okay with that, and of course, it makes sense why Lola wanted to change things up, because if you've been doing this for 7 years now, of course you want to make sure that it's the plans are still going accordingly, not like what Lana does when she tries to dirty everything up. So yeah, I could feel like why Lola wanted to do this and why Lola wanted to like make sure that it could go in her favor, but of course she wants to make sure Lana doesn't know that she's doing it under her favor. So the whole story of backstabbing your sister in this case was kind of mean for one thing for Lola, but then again, her, she's a brat and she wants things to be clean and all. But then Lana's still a free spirit and all. So Lana's doing her stuff when she does her best, trying to decorate everything when it comes to her party and all. And it's just the way that those two interacted. It's the way that they are, though. Like Lola being a pretty princess, Lana being a dirty slob, but that's who they are. And you know what? These episodes that I've been seeing with Lola and Lana, for example, like this was a pretty good one to say with how the story interacts and everything. So yeah, a pretty good story to say the least. I mean, the fact that they also celebrate their 7th birthday. So, props out to them that they actually are growing up and all.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah. All right. So how did you like Lola trying to cover up all the dirty things as much as possible as Lana continues to plan her party?
I thought that, it's typical Lola kind of behavior. That she would scheme exactly like this because, let's be honest, Lana's idea of partying isn't exactly something Lola would be comfortable with, especially given that she prefers things to be, fresh, clean, and pampery. But at the end of the day, it is Lana's turn to plan a party, and Lola should have just, let Lana take her turn for this year because, like I said, Lola and Dirty don't exactly mesh well. However, at the same time, Lola's already been planning birthday parties for both of them, like for the past 6 years. I honestly think that it's pretty much, due, like it's pretty much past due that, Lana plans a party for both of them for a change.
Yeah, and good for Lana to do this as well. But of course, this is not a surprising though. I mean, like I know this is going to happen. That Lola was going to change. That was Lola going to change everything that Lana has done. I mean, that whole part where Lana was making all the plans, and then like at the last minute, Lola just like canceled all her plans and all. Like this is a typical thing that Lola does. Just the fact that she wants to make sure that her party is nice and pretty versus Lana's view of her party making it all dirty and all. So polar opposites of each other, both interacting like differently, which is typical when it comes to twin sisters like this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So eventually Lana would notice Lola was changing her plans, making probably her most angst moment ever with Lola. How did you react when Lana felt so frustrated to Lola after what she's done?
Oh, that was so... My God, that moment was just so heartbreaking. It was just so emotional. This is honestly the first time that we have seen Lana feel so betrayed by Lola's actions. Like, honestly, this is the level where it's top 10 anime betrayals sort of thing. Like, it's top 10 anime betrayals material, but in this case, it's a cartoon, so But really, though, you can clearly see how hurt she is. Like, honestly, from the tone of her voice to the sad expressions on her face, all the way down to the tears on her eyes. I felt so bad for poor Lana, and I was like, yeah, Lola, you messed up big time. you done messed up. You done goofed. Now, to Lola's credit, she does realize at the end that what she did was wrong, even if it is to protect her comfort zone, and she does try to make things right at the end of the day. And the lengths that she would go to make things right with Lana, even going as far as to get a bit down and dirty herself, really does emphasize what I just said about Lola and Lana as a sibling pairing.
So yeah, I mean that was absolutely like, you know, you always see Lola and Lana interact with each other. Like for example, the last time we saw those two as have an episode like Sister Act, where they, you know, switch each other's like roles and all. This time it's more like Lola betraying Lana, and of course Lana not liking that, and Lana being so pissed off at Lola. I hated. I mean, like I hated the fact that Lola did that for one thing, but at the same time, you just absolutely feel it, like the way that she like abruptly bursts onto Lola and says like, "Why did you do this? I can't believe you did this," and then runs away. Even like runs away with that bike that their great aunt, I think, gave him. But it was just absolutely sad to see that too, because like, yeah, Lola, you done goofed up, but the thing that redeems her was that she brought everything back, making everything dirty again, and the fact that like all of her friends and students, for example, they turned out to still have a good time. Even Lola and Lana, for example, because it's mostly their birthday, and the fact that even if Lola doesn't like all the dirty stuff, she would still have fun with whatever Lana is doing, and you know, get down and dirty with her just to make sure amends are taken and they're all peace together, you know?
Yeah, it's sweet. It's sweet.
It's absolutely sweet. I just didn't expect this whole angst moment where Lana just gets so frustrated with Lola. It's just like, oh, heart wrenching, you know?
I know. Like I said, top 10 anime betrayals.
Of cartoon, not anime.
In this case, it's cartoon, like I said, but you know, still.
All right. Anything else you want to point out? Anything else you want to point out in this episode?
Well, nothing much really, except I just want to say happy birthday to Lana and Lola Loud. You know, happy birthday. You guys are 7 now. Blow out the candles and make a wish.
They're 7 years old, man. I mean, they're all growing up.
They're all growing up. It's just beautiful to see.
Right.
They grow up the best.
Yeah. There's one thing I want to point out. Lori and Lincoln were in the episode for only like 1 second. And it was like, oh, okay. I didn't expect those two to actually be there.
How did Lori drive all the way just to celebrate the twins' birthday? Okay, I mean, I get it. It's sibling love and all that stuff, but still, it is kind of a far drive, don't you think?
It is a far drive, but I'm guessing the whole logic of like taking that 200+ mile drive all the way to Fairway and back, I guess that's really illogical now.
I mean,
I don't know.
I guess if Lori can drive 200 miles just to celebrate the birthday of her siblings, I guess we should too, or we can too.
I guess. All right, so what's your rating on this episode?
Honestly, for me, I give this episode a 9.5 out of 10 mud cakes. And yes, there can be half cakes. It is one of the best Lana and Lola episodes that I have seen. And just seeing them turning 7 together just makes my heart melt. As their friends and family celebrate their birthday, I celebrate with them. So again, Lana, Lola, happy 7th birthday.
And they're growing up so fast. I can't believe it. Man, 5 seasons in and they're already 7 years old. I have to give this a 9 out of 10. Another great Lola and Lana episode where they interact with each other. I think this one was much better than Sister Act because there was just so much on the line on this one. This is where the trust of the twins gets into play. And of course, Lola being the forgiving one, she was able to forgive, like Lana was able to forgive Lola from all of the bad things that happened when it comes to all the party planning and all. Just the fact that they show a lot of emotion when it comes to that one moment over there in that episode. I thought that was just absolutely heart-wrenching. But at the same time, this is something that the show really did focus on. And I do love how they expressed it. Overall, a good episode. Like I said, 9 out of 10. So good job for, Strife of the Party.
I agree.
All right. So let's move over to our next episode that also aired during that day called Kernel of Truth. Kernel of Truth. Yep. So let's head over to our synopsis here. It says Lincoln and the middle school action news team solved the mystery of the missing popcorn. So it seems that the Friend Squad were still hanging together as a news team. How did you like the idea for Lincoln's friend group? And do you want to see more of this news team in the future?
You know, I really do like the idea for the squad because it really emphasizes the point that I made earlier about Lincoln's arc in middle school, opening up new opportunities and possibilities for Lincoln and his friends. And I do feel that school journalism is actually one of those good opportunities for them. Like I say, it's a good start for them in middle school.
So I did not. Well, the other thing too is that I know the squad is going to be hanging out together no matter what. I know that Lincoln is still over at Mr. Bullhopper's class, and while the rest of the friend group is in their class, they still would have to find something for them to hang out with. And I like this whole live action news team that they put up together. And I didn't expect to actually have all of them in a news group and they're all interacting with each other. They're all still together. They're all a squad like what you're seeing right now. So it was like I didn't expect an idea like that to come up for what they'll do at Royal Woods Middle School. So it was great to have. It's great to have those guys hang out in a club now. The other thing too is that this news crew looks really cool with Lincoln and Clyde as the lead, like Lincoln McCloud, little live action team there. So I would love it. I would love it if they have more episodes of those two, of that whole news crew, like more investigations, more fun and sports, or more of Stella like in technology and stuff. That'd be great, right? Just to have their own segments or them all interacting with it in a news crew and all.
It really helps that Stella is sort of a technician of herself. Like she really knows her technology. So that's actually an advantage.
Stella Zhao, by the way. We finally found her last name.
Yeah. Stella Zhao.
Stella Zhao, reporting on duty.
Stella Zhao, reporting for duty. Yeah, like you say.
All right, so they were going to be given the task to figure out the missing popcorn kernels or have the club abolished. So they do this sort of family bonding investigation with everyone involved to figure out who took them. How do you like this whole sequence in most of the episode?
I am really liking the mystery aspect of Lincoln and Clyde, especially the fact that we have seen the duo solve mysteries in different forms and costumes, like such as when they were Ace Savvy and One-Eye Jack in Crimes of Fashion, when they were spies in Family Bonding, and now they're journalists in this episode. It's just fun to see the two of them put their problem solving and detective skills to the test. Sherlock would be proud.
So I actually thought this was actually really cool. The whole sequence of like all of them trying to investigate what's been going on. Like they're doing all the spy stuff. Like I said, at a family bonding moment where like they're being spies, putting cameras out, having like sound monitors everywhere. And just to see who's been taking those popcorn kernels, which I thought was like a really investigative thing. It's like seeing family bonding again, except it's more with the squad instead of Click and McCloud. So that whole sequence right there was absolutely nice. Makes it more thorough of an investigation and all. Plus the fact that there's a thing on the line here, like, oh, your club's about to be abolished. You better figure out what's wrong with these popcorn kernels. So go all out and figure out who's been giving those popcorn kernels or who's been stealing them and all that stuff. All right, so we would find out that it would be Meryl that took the popcorn. Did you expect that at all?
Okay. Am I the only one who actually saw this coming from the start?
You really? You saw that already?
I did. Okay, here's the thing. If this episode was trying to build some kind of mystery as to who did the deed, I don't think they did it effectively. Mainly because of the fact that in the first scene of the crime, we literally see the shape of her body. We literally see the shape of her character figure in the first scene, like firsthand. So we know for a fact that it's Meryl. So honestly, it kind of defeats the purpose of it being a mystery. And honestly, that's what kind of disappointed me, because it's called a mystery for a reason. You don't know who really did the deed until the very end. So honestly, I kind of would have preferred the fact that the criminal, the one who did the deed, would actually end up in some sort of like hat and coat or something like that, sort of like trying to like some sort of way to sort of like hide the body, trying to hide the character figure, just so that it wouldn't be too obvious who it was. Because for me, it kind of felt too obvious.
Okay, yeah, but at the same time, I was like looking through that episode. I understand the whole shadowy figure part being Meryl in this case. But when you're a person that was looking through that episode, it's like, oh, very dark little figure there. Oh, really? The shape of that character is Meryl in this case. Well, the other thing too is like you're just look. The focus is going to be on Lincoln and the group just going to figure out who's giving those kernels away. For example, like, yeah, I get it. Like the delivery guy was giving kernels to this one person that's in the shadowy figure, and of course, you immediately go to Lincoln and the crew just like say, "Hey, stop it here!" And of course, you got to stop the delivery man and all that kind of stuff. So so like if you're a viewer like me, you're gonna be focusing on Lincoln and just looking through their investigation and like how they try to stop this whole transportation of popcorn kernels to the suspect in this case. But other thing too is that the first thing too is like the hint of clue that you would see that you would know it's Meryl is how addictive she could be when it comes to soap operas. And it also did reference to why she ended up buying those popcorn kernels, because in a freaking closet where she would be full of popcorn kernels watching her soap operas. I didn't expect the girl to actually be full of soap opera stuff, but apparently it's very addicting. So
yeah, and also Clyde is a huge fan of soap operas apparently.
Yeah,
but
I did not know that either. I'm like, what kind of like? First off, Clyde knows about these soap operas too. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Clyde is a weird kid in this case.
even Lincoln was looking at him, even like the rest of his crew was looking at him like, bruh. Lincoln's expression of his face was priceless.
So yeah. So here's the other thing too. How are you liking the fact that they are looking great in the future right now? Like, you were thinking they're just going to be separate classmates, but now they're going to be in a club together, and the things are looking good for Lincoln and the crew, especially when they're in a brand new school.
Honestly, like I said, this is the first of the many opportunities that are going to come up for Lincoln and his crew throughout the time that they're in middle school. Like, honestly, I could see many things happening in middle school since, let's be honest, middle school is kind of more eventful than elementary. So this is an opportunity for them to take on new challenges, new hobbies, new clubs, even make new friends of their own.
Hopefully we would get more brand new friends for, if they could hang out and get more friends, that is. But I love this squad right now. Maybe they could add another person like they did with Ronnie Ann and Laird. Right?
Another thing too is I want more Stella and Girl Jordan moments.
Yes, yes. Oh my God, please! I would love to see that. Well, look. Stella has been hanging out with Girl Jordan, like hanging out with like Lincoln and the squad for so long, but she never hanged out with Girl Jordan or like any other girls. Like, it would be good if Stella had like girl time with like other girls in junior high.
That'd be cool to see.
All right. So anything else you want to bring up in this episode?
Yes. Hang on. Okay, now here's a little food for thought. Honestly, their whole dilemma of the show being a failure at the beginning could have been avoided, and I say could have been avoided if they included, now hear me out, if they included a what really grinds my gears segment. Really, I can see people wanting to hear reporters complain about all the BS that goes on in schools, because trust me, there is BS that goes on in schools. Like, it can work so well. Like, it could be an instant hit. And for some reason, they never thought to do it. Like, I can imagine Liam hosting this segment like, you know what really grinds my gears? Quizzes. Y'all giving your students quizzes without even telling them. You're going to make us take a quiz and grade us.
Oh, my God.
If y'all give us a horror about a dumb pop quiz, we would have passed and we would have been happy as a pig in the mud. And that thing really gets my goat. And
that goat?
Back to you, Stella. See what I mean?
My God. Okay. I can totally see that happening. Having Liam be the one where it's like, I can't bring animals to this place. What's going on here?
In all seriousness, though, I give this episode an 8 out of 10 bags of popcorn. It would have been an 8.5 or even a 9 had the mystery not been so obvious. But other than that, I do enjoy the episode, mainly because of the genuine chemistry of the entire squad that was so real. And the fun of the mystery solving was there. And the fact that it was them getting into journalism in their new school was a sight to behold.
I would have to give this also an 8 out of 10. This is just more of the squad interacting. I mean, we've seen that in school. Now that they have a club together, I think they're going to be they're going to be hanging out together in this club now for who knows how long. And of course, more adventures are going to happen in junior high. Hopefully, they get a reference back to the new squad. But I do like the fact that there's more interactions with the squad, with Lincoln and Stella and Clyde and Liam, Zach and Rusty, for example, that they're still going to be clicking together, even if Lincoln's all the way over in a different classroom than where his friends is. So just another episode of those guys hanging out and all. I would have to say it's great to have a whole group episode once again. So props out to them. 8 out of 10 for me. I would say still a pretty good episode to say. Okay, so let's head over to our next episode called Bobo Business. And we're heading over to the Casa Grande side now. It's actually going to Bobo Business here. So let's get that a little prop up set here. Oh my gosh, here we go. Bobo Business. So after a disagreement with Abuelo, Bobby goes to work with Mr. Hong to try out his new business deals. So how are you liking the story's progress with Bobby? Because remember back in Stress Test, he was going to a business school. Now he's bringing his ideas together into the Mercado or in Hong's Mercado. How are you liking the progress of Bobby's plans here?
I'm actually loving this because it's an opportunity for Bobby to have his own character arc in which he works hard and builds up to his end goal, which is go to a business school and become a businessman. It's similar to his girlfriend's character arc, in which she prepares for college. So since Bobby is Lori's girlfriend, it means that he himself has a drive similar to Lori. So it kind of does make sense in a way. That parallel sort of does make sense. Now, his character arc, we know that it started with Stress Test, and this episode is a continuation of the arc.
Yeah, and I really do love the fact that, like, even if we don't really have focused episodes on Bobby, he still is putting his business ideas to the test. Like, for example, having an internet cafe, selling bimbop to people who go to Hong's Mercado. But the other thing too is that, okay, Abuelo has his traditions of not changing stuff around, and of course that obviously brings Bobby to say, hey, I'd rather just move over somewhere else, and which ended up being success for Hong in the first couple of parts in the episode. But I mean, I love the fact that they're just continuing on building up with what Bobby's has potential for. Like, there's a story arc when it comes to Bobby, and I really love that right now. That they're gonna continue on with Bobby. Hopefully, he'll go to college soon. I would imagine, like in season 2 or season 3 of the Casa Grandes, we're gonna see him in college the same time as Lori is in college as well. So, similar timelines and things like that. So let's see how it all goes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do you like the Korean references in this episode?
You know what? As a fan of Korean culture myself, it's just something that I just really adored seeing.
Dude, I love the fact that they brought up, like, what was it? Kimchi, bibimbap, what was it? Bulgogi. FYI, this reminds me of, like, our time when we go to Korean barbecue.
I miss going in again with my friends.
Yeah, dude, all the good Korean barbecue places. And FYI, if you guys have not ever been to a Korean barbecue place, please do. It's absolutely great to just have all you can eat food all grilled up right in front of you.
Yeah, all you can eat barbecue. All you can eat Korean barbecue is honestly, it's one of the best dining experiences you can have, especially when you're with company.
Yeah. I have to say,
we've gone again like a few times ourselves. Like, you remember those times?
Yeah, dude. That was what, like last year? Wait, it was my birthday. It was like my birthday actually this year that I went again. Remember? Oh yeah, it was my birthday. Actually, I went again. Yeah. Yeah, I remember we all went again for my birthday, and that ended up being pretty good. Yeah. So, with this business idea's a success, he actually had a chance to take charge of Hong's Mercado, but that turned out to be a mistake. Did you see that happening?
Yeah, honestly, the episode did establish to have Bobby be very successful at his new job, well, until the ending, which we all saw. Now, the ending where things get a bit too overwhelming for Bobby, as he has to make his customers happy no matter what, which has worked well when it came to the Mercado. What he sort of thought that idea would work. Up to a point where Bobby would even let the customers take their own animals, which, let me tell you, did not end up well at all. So he thought that he could transfer his business and job skills that he apply to, like, which he established in Mercado, and sort of like transfer them over to Mr. Hong's store. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to quite work out. Now, this is an actual good lesson for Bobby to learn, especially when it's the beginning of his character arc in which he drives to go to a business school. Yes, it's always good to make your customers happy. However, there is a limit that you can take in order to make the customers happy and to fulfill their demands or needs. I feel that him coming to learn this lesson is actually a good first step for him becoming a successful businessman, because it's what employees and employers especially try to do when serving customers. And honestly, I can't wait to see what comes next for businessman Bobby Boo Boo Bear.
Bobby Boo Boo Bear. So I have to say, like, yeah, this was about to happen. I was kind of predicting that there was going to be a mistake where Bobby would end up ruining the Hong's Mercado. Although you can just totally see like the success that Bobby had when it came to all the ideas he brought up. But of course, when it comes to being in charge, there have been some like foreshadowing, for example, that you see that over at the Casa Grande Mercado, where things can get a little bit unsuccessful when he's in charge. So when he got in charge for Hong's Mercado, you know that this is gonna happen. I mean, in back of my mind, I knew this was gonna happen. That this is gonna be a big mistake. Apparently, bunnies were going to be a big mistake. They love to cuddle and all, and they ended up keeping Bobby hostage during one scene of the episode. Like, it's cute.
Carl was like, "Oh, the bunny, it's so cute." Like Carl just being like, Carl just, be completely like loving the bunny, like, like just, and his eyes too when he sees that bunny, like, oh, it's so cute. So oh my god, that is.
I would say I would be the same reaction too. I would love to pet a cute bunny when I shop around a Mercado, for example. But yeah, I mean, right, that's true. But I gotta say though, I mean, yeah, I knew this was gonna happen. I knew this is what Bobby's going to do, and apparently, you will know what happened. He got fired from Hong's Mercado after that. So big disaster. But you know what? You still get to see like the interaction between Abuelo and Bobby, because they ended up fixing the problem. And of course, now that Abuelo has the light-hearted feeling towards Bobby now, they're going to work together to fix the Mercado, the Casa Grande's Mercado, and make sure it's good, like Hong's Mercado, for example. So this brings me up to the last question. In the end, Bobby would be back in the Casa Grande's Mercado, would use his ideas there to change Abuelo's to Abuelo's change of heart. They ended the episode with an advertisement of the Mercado. How did you like the finale?
I liked how it was resolved, with Hector realizing that he needed to listen to Bobby's ideas, and Bobby himself learning that there are certain limits to satisfy customers. Oh, also, I love the advertisement song for the Mercado. Come on down to your neighborhood Mercado.
Okay, you put the song up here.
And avocados.
Oh, why I already had with the avocado.
We got Mercado.
Oh my god.
Mercado. Oh god, it's so catchy and fun to listen to. It might even make a good ringtone for my phone. Who knows?
Oh my god, it would be great. I actually do love the advertisement they put up together. I didn't know Bobby would actually bring that up, and I was like, okay, this is cute. Actually, having all the Casa Grandes be a part of the Mercado advertisement. I mean, everybody's in a fruit. Like Ronnie added an avocado, for example. And then, of course, like breaking it down, having a DJ beat, Mercado. And then like in the end where they all hug each other, like come down to the Casa Grande Mercado. I think that would get me to go into the Casa Grande Mercado, for example. That was absolutely sweet to have the whole family interact together and actually be a part of the Casa Grande Mercado, which it is, because it's their Mercado.
Yeah, honestly, if I saw a commercial like that, I would just I would just call him and say, "What's your address?" Or no, I'm just like,
I'll go to Great Lake City now for that. All right. So, anything else you want to point out in the episode?
Mercado.
Put the song back up again.
Mercado. I can't help it. Catchy song is catchy. Anyways, I give it a 9 out of 10 kimchi bowls. It's a continuation of Bobby's character arc, and there's a good lesson for him to learn for the future. And at the same time, there's also a lesson for Hector as well, which is to value and listen to your employees. And Hector failing to do that is what drove Bobby away from the Mercado in the first place.
Right. I'll give you this an 8.5 out of 10. I would have to say, yeah, I love the whole fact that they put Bobby and was it Abuelo learning about what their mistakes are, especially Bobby, for example, because I know there's going to be a big future arc for Bobby in this case. So I love the fact that they're continuing on with the character arc of what Bobby is going to have. Abuelo, of course, is trying to make sure that the Mercado is going to be successful. And having Bobby and Abuelo teaming up together, especially making an advertisement like that, I would imagine a teamwork like this is going to last a long time for the Casa Grandes Mercado.
I agree.
All right, so let's head over to our last episode that we should be talking about. That episode is called Blunder Party. That also aired at the end of at the final 15 minutes of the Casa Grande's new episodes. So let's go ahead and bring that up here. Here we go. There we go. Blunder Party. All right. So the synopsis here says Rowdy and Sid are pumped for their sleepover, but Carl and Adelaide might ruin the day. So after the things that happened in Uptown Funk, first off, we're not going to talk about the episode first. Let's talk about Carl and Adelaide, for example. How did you like the fact that Adelaide and Carl are like a really good duo now? Did you like them ruining Ronnie Ann's party, though, and Ronnie Ann's party?
Carlade! Carlade!
Okay, I get it.
Oh. Yes, I do like that they are a BFF duo. No, I do not like that they had to ruin Ronnie and Sid's squad sleepover.
I love Carl and Ronnie. I like Carl and Adelaide. I mean, the fact that they're like hanging out together, being best friends, hanging out in a party, and apparently ruining Sid and Ronnie Ann's party. I would say this is kind of a thing where they would do. Just the fact that they're, first, second graders. So I'm not surprised about that. But of course, that's pretty much what happens throughout the whole episode, where they're going to mess up, Carl and Sid and Adelaide's, Sid and Ronnie Ann's party and all. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that, but it still ended up being an entertaining episode.
To be fair, they don't need to ruin it. They just want to fit in. That's it. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I love the fact that Carl and Adelaide are there. It's just that, yeah, I can understand Sid and Ronnie Ann's annoyance when it comes to them having them in the party and all. So soon the Sleek Girls would devise a scavenger hunt for Carl and Adelaide as they continue their party without them. A good idea. What was it? A good idea as they continue to party on the roof was to have them in a scavenger hunt. So they would continue to party on the roof. That is fun and all until Carl and Adelaide got taken by Par's van to the dump. So how did you like the shift of tone from fun to a rescue mission?
Now, I felt that the shift between a fun party to a rescue mission, it was a bit too abrupt, but I do love the Carl and Adelaide aspect of the mission. How they would go on a scavenger hunt in order to get a giant schmo. Giant s'more. They're called s'mores. They're called s'mores, Buzz. And throughout the scavenger hunt, you can feel the chemistry and genuine friendship between these kitties, which is a good continuity for Uptown Funk. Continuity, just always a beautiful thing, isn't it?
What's that? Oh my gosh. But yeah, I do. I mean, like this pretty much. How would I say this? This pretty much put the episode in two sides now, where Sid and Ronnie Ann have fun at their party, and Carl and Adelaide are doing their scavenger hunt. So it's good to see those two like interact. I mean, like Carl and Adelaide having their own little little scavenger hunt where they all go around the apartments, just doing all the stuff that Ronnie Ann listed down, and of course having Ronnie Ann and Sid just having a fun time partying up there. It turned out to be great and all, but of course they all have to interact again one time, where apparently Par would have to be in this case, and they would have to go into the rescue mission part. I actually did like the whole switching tones here, because it's like, okay, everything's fun and all, and then it's time for us to actually go back and hopefully not see Carl and Adelaide get lost and all. So I did like that whole change in tone when it comes to the episode. Just makes it like, okay, I hope Carl and Adelaide are not like hurt or anything like that, because you did actually see Carl and Adelaide did hop into Par's van and all. So and when I was actually watching that, I was thinking like, okay, we are really thinking about a rescue mission, and I know that Sid and Ronnie Ann both went to the dump to hopefully make sure that they're not lost at all. So I really have to say that they really did a good job trying to shift that tone, especially in this episode. It was great. Like, okay, I'm not focused. Okay, hopefully Carl and Adelaide are not hurt or lost, because I would love to see them, again, hopefully.
Yeah, me too. I was sort of scared for them, but at the same time, I do love how they made the best of their situation. So
Yeah,
for that.
Yeah, and I like the fact that in the end they ended up, finishing all the stuff from the scavenger hunt, and the fact that Sid and Ronnie Ann had to apologize because they did a scavenger hunt. They still wanted them out of the party. Either way, they ended up getting a big giant s'more to cap the night off.
Yeah, that's more look juicy. It made me want to have a s'more myself.
Yeah, Carl and Adelaide, by the way, like I said, they're both a great pair, I must say. They both love like sweets when it comes to s'mores and all. So,
Carly, like I said, that there's nothing
right
other than that.
Now, lastly, I do want to bring this up when I saw this episode. Do you love all the references that showed up in this episode, like Par and Bobby being BFFs? We haven't seen that since Neverending Story. Was it Maybelle and the Mangoes? We always see that in every episode of the Casa Grandes. Carl and Adelaide since Uptown Funk. K-pop being referenced in this episode. There's a lot of things that were referenced in this episode. This kind of feels like this is a season finale, for example.
Yeah, I loved how they incorporated all these callbacks and references into one episode. Like, as a result, it did feel like a season finale, because it's a little thing that some TV shows love to do in general when it comes to season finales, in which they give little hints, cameos, small clues, etc. Now, they love to give those, which does hint to reference that were part of previous episodes in a said season. And it's just fun to spot each and every single one of them. I noticed that Amphibia recently did this too, with their mid-season finale that we saw recently too. So it could be like either season finale or mid-season finale or that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm just really glad that they had all these references and cameos integrated into one.
I really did like that. I mean, it just kind of gives you a feedback of what happened in season 1 and all. So just the fact that everything was just all meshed into one episode of a Blunder Party is like, okay, so we're bringing all of our references back to season, all of the references to season 1, and throwing a big party about it, aka Blunder Party. Get it? so you understand why they made a party out of this. But yeah, I do love the whole fact that they brought in references from the previous episodes all into this episode. I mean, the fact that the squad of Ronnie Anns are hanging out together, K-pop being a whole thing again. We haven't heard of K-pop for quite a while, to say the least. Carl and Adelaide now becoming BFFs. I really do want more episodes of those two. They're just really cute, like, together as friends and all. And the fact that there's more Par and Bobby, because we haven't seen Par and Bobby in so long. Maybe you could talk about Mexican Makeover again, but still, Par and Bobby are still like amazing. And I really love to see those two maybe hang out in high school, for example, maybe a Chavez high school moment, because I would imagine Bobby being in high school with Par. I don't know, because I haven't seen Bobby ever in high school, so I'd imagine him being in like high school or college or whatever, just to make sure that continuation of Bobby is still there,
Well, we did see him one time in the ending of Stress Test, where he was taking the test, but that's really about it.
Yeah, but I don't know if he actually was like in this. Well, I guess he was in a high school doing that test, for example. All right, so anything else you want to bring up in this episode?
Carlade Changrana. Make it happen. Also, I give this an 8 out of 10 giant s'mores. It was fun and engaging episode to see from Ronnie Ann and Sid's side, and especially from Carl and Adelaide's side when they go on their scavenger hunt.
I would have to give this a 9 out of 10. Just the fact that, like I said, they brought everything back. When I looked through this episode, I remember all the things that were references back in season 1. Now they're all being here in this episode. I thought it was absolutely fun just having like everybody having a fun time, and of course having a little shift of tone where they ended up trying to get a rescue mission and all. I have to say this is actually a really good crafted episode to have Carl and Adelaide be a part of the squad for a little bit, and ended up still having a fun time and all. So to say the least, no ends were like scratched or cut off from this, but it turned out to be a really fun episode. I actually did like it. So Blunder Party, I would say like 9 out of 10 for me.
Same here,
right.
man.
All right, so without further ado, that's it for our episode reviews. Let's head over to our main subject of the episode. All right. So the main subject of the episode is Loud House Fandom and the rules of the internet. So our main subject involves rules. We have to follow them in order to be good citizens and whatnot. There are rules pretty much everywhere, whether it be in school, at home, or even on Discord. You have to follow them or you would be punished for it. Unfortunately, there are certain rules that we have to obey, even if it's uncomfortable for us to talk about. These are the rules of the internet, and no matter what, you're going to eventually see them. Now, this is not just for the Loud House fandom or the Casa Grande's fandom. This is in every fandom. No matter which fandom you go to, you would see these rules applied. But strangely, the Loud House fans in particular are being picked on being fans because of obliging to those said rules, which is FYI totally false. Now, we're going to talk about 2 rules in particular. One being Rule 63, which is exists in an alternate universe where everybody is in a different gender. We want to point that out that they did already do that in the Loud House called One of the Boys. We're going to be explaining that episode in this Loud Casa Talks main subject. And then we're also going to talk about Rule 34, which, well, let's just say Rule 34 is Rule 34, and you can look it up on Google and stuff. I'm not going to bring it up here because it's absolutely not okay to talk about it here. So as we go along, let's go ahead and bring up the subject of the first rule that we said here, Rule 63. Now, the rules apply here in the internet from Rule 63 is that the proposition that it is possible to find gender-swapped versions of every fictional character, especially as fan art on the internet. FYI, there's tons of fan art of gender-bent Loud House characters. Like I said, this was already shown in canon as they did make an episode with this rule applied in One of the Boys. Now let's discuss this episode a little bit. Omid, how did you like the episode of One of the Boys?
I know a lot of people don't really think fondly of One of the Boys from season, and they sort of consider one of the weaker episodes of season 1. And while I do agree that it is flawed, I would have to say, no lie, it's one of my guilty pleasure episodes. Like it's definitely a guilty pleasure of mine. I just can't help but just thoroughly enjoy it, despite how stupid and how stereotypical towards boys it can really be. Now, and there's another thing too that I want to point out is that this episode heavily inspired me to cosplay as gender bent Lynn Loud. So honestly, I have a soft spot for it because of that.
Dude, I mean, I also cosplayed like what Lars Loud in One of the Boys. Dude, this was actually one of my guilty pleasure episodes. I actually really did enjoy this episode. Although a lot of people say that it's a bad episode just because they treated Lincoln like crap. But then again, these are boys. These are brothers. Like, this is something that brothers do, and I have to bring that up to everybody. Say like, this is something brothers do. I'm like, you might not be happy that they were torturing Lincoln in this case, but this is how brothers do. They, noogie, they fart in each other's faces, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it could be a sick joke, for example, but I have to say that the way that they portrayed it here in One of the Boys, it's like, yeah, you can be kind. And the other thing too is that also in One of the Boys is that they were kind to Lincoln in 1 second, and then like when the tone shifted to where they just tortured Lincoln, that was kind of uncalled for. But at the same time, like in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, this is what brothers do. But yeah, we did already break the rule here of Rule 63, where we made gender bent versions of the Louds, because Lincoln is not hanging out with Ted's sisters, now hanging out with Ted brothers. And there also was a scene where Lincoln actually became Linka. So there's the whole gender bent scene there.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Linka. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. And to say the least, I I gotta say this though. I mean, I was a big fan of One of the Boys, for example. Remember when we were actually over at that that animation panel when we went to meet up with like the creators of the Loud House, for example? That
Yeah,
was
I
like
remember.
what, back in 2017?
and we dressed up as a gender bent louds. Like I still consider it one of my favorite trips. It's definitely one of my favorite con memories, and it doesn't even take place in a con itself,
It
but
wasn't even a con.
it felt
It
like a con to me. It felt like a con.
it felt like it was over at like a movie studio, for example. We went to actually Sony Pictures Animation and actually met up with the Loud House creators and writers there. And I remember clearly when I was talking to Kevin Sullivan, can we make another gender bent version episode of the Loud House? And it's like, okay, like in the back of my mind, I was a fan of that episode, and it also aired during that time. So I was like, can we make another episode of that? And then Kevin, of course, says like, well, think about it. And of course, that's not gonna happen. Like,
like 3 years. It's been like
you,
3 or 4 years. We still haven't seen any
you know, when you grow, when you grow, when you grow up and all, you just continue to think about what you say back in the years, and it's like, oh, okay, this is a dumb thing I just said.
Believe me, I have my fair share of those.
Yeah. So I mean, like, hey, we were there. We met up with the creator. We met up with the writers and the art and the people who were there. I mean, like, met up with Jordan Rosado. We met up with Kevin Sullivan. We met up with like most of the cast crew there. You're gonna have a lot of fan moments there where you got to be talking to them and tell them.
It was Sean Ganska and Amanda Rita, I believe. Amanda Rita.
Yeah, Amanda Rinda too. Yeah. But we talked to them for so long, and we just said like, "Hey, we're just fans of the show. I'm sorry I've had to bring up Rule 63 to one of their faces, but it was one of my favorite episodes. I can't say much about it. You actually broke the rule of the internet here and actually made an episode of Gender Bent Louds. So why not make another one? Why not?"
Yeah, it could work. Like I still stand to this day that it could actually work if we had more episodes of Gender Bend Louds, which is going to tie into the next question that Nate is going to ask.
Right. So, I mean, like, ever since then, there have been many fans who love the idea of gender bent series. I mean, like, I'm guilty of this. I just explained it to you all how it is. How do you react to the fans being huge about the gender bent idea?
You know, I really dig the idea of gender bent Loudverse. It does sound interesting. I just wish that sooner or later we get at least a comic book issue or maybe even an entire episode in which Linka is with her brothers. Like, sort of take the Adventure Time approach in which how it focuses on gender bent characters.
I would have to say, if possible, they could probably put it in a short or put it on a comic, for example. Like, I thought the idea was absolutely great to have it there. I just didn't expect. I mean, like, I understand why they'll not write it anymore. It was just one idea that broke the internet because everybody really loved the idea that you really went through Rule 63 and actually, made gender bent louds. So, I mean, like, the other thing too is like there's been so much fan reaction to it that there's a lot of fan art for gender bent louds. I have never seen so many people draw a lot of Linkas. So there's that. There's also a lot of people who also draw the gender bent louds. For example, like Loki Loud or Lars Loud. I didn't expect a big, huge fandom of this to happen, but this is how this is what happens when you actually put an episode that was canon and bring it over to the Loud House. So yeah, I really didn't expect that. But for those who actually think that there's going to be a gender bent idea, if it's going to happen, that's great. But at the same time, I'm not surprised if they won't do it, if they won't go any further when it comes to any gender bent idea episodes, because that was just one thing. I would not expect more of like a series or like a short happening when it comes to a gender bent Loudverse.
Yeah, there's so much material that you can work with one girl and 10 boys. Like there's actually good amount of material, but we're gonna get to that right now.
Yeah, so I mean, even then, fan artists are still making fan arts of the gender bent louds, hoping that there would be a possible series or a short having them. We just talked about this. Why am I bringing this up already? Have you seen this? Have you seen some of the fan arts, and do you think it's gonna happen?
I've seen a good chunk of these fan arts, and they do look very appealing for the most part. I personally wish for it to happen because there is so much that you could do and so much material to cover when you have one girl and 10 boys, like I just said. Like, for example, I remember there was this one fan art of Linka cuddling with Ron while her brothers look at Ron furiously, ready to beat his ass if he does suspicious with her. Like Loki says, you know, if you do anything further than cuddling, you'll be buried in our backyard. To which Ron replies very nervously, yeah, nothing further. Showing that the brothers are very, very overprotective of their only sister, as all brothers would be to their own sisters. Now, I wish for that kind of thing to be canon, actually. That'd actually be awesome and actually an interesting contrast to how the Loud sisters would always react whenever they see Lincoln and Ronnie Yen together. You know how the Loud sisters are like screaming with glee, like all happy and be like, oh, you mean Ronnie Yen? No, no, no. No, no, no. The Loud brothers, when they see their sister with another guy, oh, let me tell you, they don't stand for that crap. They mean serious business.
It's different. It's different when it's like when it comes to brothers, because of course brothers become overly protective to their sister and all, which makes sense in the story. Although this reminds me of like a reverse harem that I love to watch, aka if you watch Oran High School Host Club, it's kind of like that.
I still haven't seen Oran, but I've heard it's popular.
It's okay to say the least. Like imagine Haruhi as Linka, and then the brothers being the boys in the high school host club. So they turn out to charm Haruhi. They turn out to like sweeten up Haruhi and things like that. This is gonna be very bad because it's kind of pursuing to Rule 34 in this case. But incest and all that. It's like I don't want to talk about that there, but. That's how I was thinking about when it comes to making a series of reverse Louds, like one sister, 10 brothers. It could be a bad idea to say the least. But at the same time, having 10 girls and one brother, it's also, if you're thinking about it in a dirty way, like Rule 34, it's going to be bad also. But I mean, like, to say the least, what they did here, I mean, like, they try to make it friendly and all. That's how the Loud House became such a great show. Of course, not really thinking about what's going on in R34, but if you're gonna do a reverse, Loudverse series where there are gonna be 10 boys and one girl, there's gonna be a lot of big differences. Like you said there, Amid, like the brothers are probably gonna be looking down on every like boy that Linka interacts, and there's gonna be a lot of like fighting, like real physical fighting of the brothers instead of like the girls fighting and everything. It's so much different, So the idea of having a gender bent Loudverse would be pretty interesting, but I do not think that's going to happen anytime soon because I know that the writers and the creators right now are just currently focusing on what the Loud House is having right now, and currently they're doing a really good job with it. So I would not imagine like another gender bent episode happening, but if they do, I will not be surprised. I'll be happy because it's like, okay, we're totally going back into one of the boys, and I can't wait to see how this goes.
Yeah, honestly, I'll just be like, oh my god, thank you. This was long overdue. We need more gender bent Louds, please.
I guess. I mean, like that was a great idea, but I don't know. That's a pertaining to the rule. And at the moment, right now, Rule 63 is currently applied to all the fan artists and fanfic writers out there that are currently making it. And you know what? Continue doing it. There's no violation of what you're doing, by the way. So, not until this rule came in, though. So let's talk about the other rule that I want to talk about. And I know this is going to be very hard for people to actually listen to. So I do want to put the disclaimer up right now. If you're very uncomfortable with what we're going to be talking about next, please avoid this. When we put up the video on YouTube or when we put up the podcast on Anchor, I will tell you when you can come back onto this session. Okay? So if you're listening to it right now, please press pause, please press stop, or just stop listening to what you're listening to right now. And then just head over to the timestamp to where we'll stop talking about the subject, and then we'll move on from there. All right. Now that I got your attention, let's talk about Rule 34. Now we got to put up a war. And I just did this right here. Okay. So Rule 34. I can't say the P word out here, but R34, there's a lot of that. No exceptions. There's a lot of that. So let's first talk about the idea of it. I know it's uncomfortable to hear that, but I'm sorry. I mean, it's going to make you feel uncomfortable. What are your thoughts on this? What's your tolerance level when it comes to R34 stuff?
Oh boy. Well, this is going to be some risky steps to take with going.
When I came into this, I know that we're going to be talking about this, and it's going to be very like weird for us to talk about this. I know it's going to make me feel uncomfortable, but I know if you wanted to stop talking about it, that was your call. You should have just told me about that. But yeah,
No. Actually, no. I'm getting to that right now.
okay. I just want to make sure.
It's one of those things in which you just got to be careful when addressing this topic. It's sort of like walking into a minefield, that sort of thing. So,
Right.
this is going to risk being controversial, so please bear with me. Thank you. Now, in terms of Rule 34, it's not really the type of fan art that I visit as much as non-Rule 34. Let's say, aka safe art. It's not, I don't visit Rule 34 as much as safe art. Not because it's uncomfortable or anything like that. I mean, I could take it. I could take Rule 34. I mean, I have visited some Rule 34 here and there, but I mostly focus on the safe fan art because I feel like the safe fan art is more true to the spirit of the Loud House, given that it's a kids show. Now, if there was a Rule 34 fan art on, say, Rick and Morty or Has Been Hotel, it would work much better with those shows because they are adult shows and they do have sexual themes incorporated into these shows. With the Loud House, on the other hand, it doesn't contain mature content at all because, like I said, it is a silly Sunday comic-themed kids show. So it would be out of place for them to have sexual explicit fan art in comparison to the adult cartoons.
That's unfortunate though, because there's a lot of that around, especially when it comes to like our TV shows that we love to watch. For example, like I keep seeing R34 fan art of Loud House and Casa Grande. It kind of sucks because it's just like, oh, I'm searching up something on Google and that pops up. I'm like, okay, great. I hate going to that website. But then again, like this kind of smut is everywhere. Like you go into a website and you just search up, say, for example, another favorite cartoon you like, The Owl House, for example. There's going to be tons of that. You go look up Amphibia, there's tons of that. Although it's weird enough, I actually did look up Big City Greens on one side, and oh god, I don't want to look at that anymore. Yeah, look, this is bad. Like, I'm not tolerant when it comes to this kind of stuff. I really do not like it. But there's fans that do like it, and I'm like, oh god. My other thing too is like, it's really controversial. I hate really talking about this to say, but we really have to. It's just, things that the fans kind of enjoy. And the thing is that there's some fans that, that we're friends with when it comes to the fandom that say they might like R34 stuff. And I'm like, all right, good for you. I'm not going to be hating on you for that. But there's a certain kind of like level where I have to say, I like you if you like this kind of R34 art. Say, for example, like the Louds in an older age. Maybe that's my tolerance level. Maybe having Lola Loud in an 18 plus up age and seeing R34 art of that. That's okay-ish with me. Yeah. It isn't like seeing Lola right now being in R34 art. And I'm like, no. Cancel it all. Cancel it all. No, I am not okay with that.
At all. Not that kind of Rule 34 fan art of underage girls. No, I have
no. That just makes you that makes you first off a pedophile. The other thing too, the other thing too is like, it's hard to even decipher when it comes to friends when you meet up with on the fandom. It's like, wait, why are you liking this fan art? And it's like, okay, if your reason is blah blah blah, that you think Lola is blah blah blah, then I really should not friend you, for one thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like honestly, people like that, like pedos, like honestly, I would just avoid them like the plague. I'm just like, stay the hell away from my friends list. Get the hell out.
Right. And
go to jail. Please go to jail. Do us all a favor, go to jail.
Exactly. No, first off, banish them from the fandom, for one thing. And
banish them from life. Banish them from life.
Right, exactly. And I'm just so like really inconceived when it comes to the rule. And I mean, come on, me and you are adults. When it comes to seeing this kind of stuff, we will get a little bit uncomfortable, but at the same time, it's okay-ish.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it really depends on the age. Like I said, if they're 18 and up, then I'm just like, okay, well, it looks interesting, that sort of thing.
Right. I mean, like we're over 18 years old, and the thing is, like, seeing R34 could be like disgusting for one thing, but the thing is like if you've reached your tolerance level of a certain art that you see, then you should certain art or a certain fanfic that you read, then you should be okay with whatever you're looking at or whatever you're reading. So, I mean, if you like I said, this is a lesson here for everybody to learn. It's like if you have a tolerance level when it comes to R34 and it fits your tolerance level, then that's okay for you to watch. But then if it goes underneath your tolerance level, then of course avoid it with the plague. Avoid it at all costs. Please get away from that. Yeah, it's just really hard to talk about, but I know we want to bring it up. That's why I'm sorry. This is absolutely weird. We're going to be talking about this. Anyways,
warning, Nate. We did give out a warning.
Right. But it's comfortable for us too. I mean, continue on with this. It's just interesting. Anyways, the thing is, like, R34 is everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Whenever you search up on the internet, unless you have that safe bar, that little safe search thing that you turned on, you're gonna see it in any search that you go to. So, I mean, we've been victims of it. I mean, you want to talk about a story where you've been fallen victim to an R34 thing?
There are a few times that I have come across Rule 34, but even then, I didn't really mind since, like I said, I'm not uncomfortable with it. I could definitely take it, but most of the fan art that I have checked out and most of the fan artists that I have followed mostly do safe art. And they do art for kids shows such as the Loud House and the Casa Grandes. So it's the type of fan art that really does fit the demographic of the cartoons that they do fan art for.
You know what? I mean, I fall victim to it on a lot of occasions. Like, I would follow an artist that I would absolutely like. And the thing is that you'll follow them because they have really good art, because the drawing skills are amazing. They make you look really like the Loud House or any other TV show that you like. But then as you continue on looking into their art, you totally see something R34, and then that is there when you start to fall victim for it. So it's like, for example, like I'll look at a person who makes a really good Lori Loud fan art, for example, and then as I follow him on Twitter, he starts popping up more images, which is more uncomfortable for me, and I'm like, oh no, this is just interesting. How am I going to still support you if you're going to draw things like that? But if it's just like one occasion, okay. But if there's more and more of that, then click that unfollow button instead. We've all followed with that. So nonetheless, we're gonna all fall victim to it, either on Twitter, on Facebook, or when it comes to Instagram, for example. You're gonna see it eventually. Everyone's gonna probably fall under the R34 plan. All right, so let's talk about the fan artists, for example. Good thing I brought this up. Some of our favorite fan artists make them if you look very closely to the portfolios and web pages. So if you see a fan artist make something in the lines of Rule 34, would you unfollow them?
No, not really. I mean, that would honestly depend on how overboard they go with it. Like if they overdo it, then it's sort of like going into a zone where it's sort of like going into this level where it's like, okay, you must have some sort of fascination with that. See you later. I mean, as long as it's not hate art towards my favorite characters, then I honestly don't really mind. It just really depends on the content itself and how far they take it in terms of the quantity and in terms of how Rule 34-ish they get.
Right. So I mean, like, I follow a lot of artists. I mean, like, I'm a person who runs a fan page of the Loud House, and I would always follow great people who make great fan art. But the thing is, like, there are those moments where I can totally see them make R34 art, and at the same time, I'm like, am I okay with this? Am I not okay with this? Because the other thing too is, like, the way that they draw the fan art has to fall, like I said, under your tolerance. For example, like, say for example, like, for me, I would like it if they're all drawn 18 up. If they're drawn 18 up and they're do something R34, then that's okay with me. If I see like Lola Lana do something R34, then get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, honestly,
That's my tolerance level in that.
I'm the exact same way. Like honestly, that would depend on the age of the characters. Like if they're adults, young adults, like with adult bodies, then yeah, I do tolerate that. But if it's underage, if they're minors, if they're kids, then hell no. Get the hell out. Honestly, you should not only be banished from the fandom, you should be banished for life.
Right, exactly. It's and the other thing too that I also was really disturbed about is that Lincoln Loud is pretty much in every R34 art. I mean, I admit it there, guys. R34 art, there's a lot of Lincoln Loud fan art of that. And the thing is about that, like I said, we have to make sure that the tolerance level is there. As long as Lincoln's 18 up, then I'm okay with that. But if it's going to be like same old Lincoln Loud screwing somebody in R34, this is where I draw the line here. Because, like, I do not want to see a lot of that ever.
Yeah, honestly, it is the very last thing I want to see. I do not want to see child characters in Rule 34 fan art. It is the absolute last thing I want to see. The moment I stumble upon it, I would put bleach in my eyes.
Right, exactly. Like seeing Lori right now in R34 art could be okay. Like, to say the least, okay. But seeing like Lincoln or people all the way down in R34 art, that's when I start to get really personal about that. So
Get out of the way. Just,
of course. Okay, well, here's the other thing too. Let's talk about the fans who love R34 art. Look, I don't understand. Some don't like. I understand some don't like the smut. Some do, but you can't decipher. You can't decipher them as bad fans. I mean, if they like that kind of stuff, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on this, Omid? Like, if you've met up with a fan who likes this kind of art, how do you approach it?
Now, thankfully, I don't see much Rule 34 when it comes to minors or underage kids, and I would prefer to keep it that way. Thank you very much. Most of what I've seen are thankfully 18 up girls with adult bodies. However, no matter what, don't immediately assume that someone is a bad person because of the Rule 34 fan art. Now, if there is real life evidence that they are somehow, sick in the head, or if he or she's someone admits straight up that they are attracted to minors, well, yeah, that's a different story. Like I said, you should not only banish them, but you should even probably call the cops on them. I'm just saying. But regardless, like honestly, don't art shame. That's all I'm gonna say. Just don't art shame.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I can't art shame when it comes to like fan artists who draw that kind of smut. But the thing is, like, if I see a fan who's totally into that kind of stuff that is, like I said, under my tolerance level, I have to like unfriend you. I cannot continue on being your friend if you continue to like stuff like that. And you're right about that, Omid. When you have to actually look at the history of who they are, like you have to really talk. Like if you really like this person, you have to talk personally to them and say like, how awesome are you? Like, really think in the back of your mind, like, is this person really a person that I really want to hang out with because he likes this kind of stuff? It's just confusing because I know it's just very tricky when it comes to like thinking about people that you hang out with that's a part of the fandom that likes this kind of stuff, because it's really something that I really can't really say much about this. It's just the way you have to perceive. You really have to really analyze when it comes to friends and things like that who love this kind of stuff. I mean, you can't really judge from the outer shell who they are. Maybe they like it and they just say like, okay, it's just something I like. I mean, it's like at a certain level, not like in a level that you don't like, etc., etc. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain this kind of stuff.
Yeah, like I said, we're pretty much walking to a minefield at this point. We're delving into like controversial, dangerous territory here, dude. Like
I know.
That is some deep territory going into, son. I'm just saying.
Right. Okay, so let's go back in a time where certain fans who hated Rule 34 stuff. I think you've heard of them before. It's called the Safe Loud House. Now there are fans who would call out people saying that what they made are bad, and would immediately call them pedophiles, bad people, etc. Look, you can't just overassume that an artist or a fanfic writer is straight up a pedo when they make something Rule 34. I mean, I follow artists. Like I said, I follow artists who draws it occasionally, not like every time. They just want to draw that smut, and I'm not going to shame them for that. How about you, Mead? What's your thoughts about this? How did you like how the Safe House fans treated artists who were making Rule 34 stuff?
You know, I never forget that awful story about what happened to Jump Jump a few years ago. You
Right.
remember?
Oh, we had a thing about him.
He got screwed over by those horrible people in the fandom. They pretty much ruined his life. I still stand by that. It's honestly the worst thing that the Loud House fandom has ever done, period. Because, you know, because of these assholes, like calling the cops, like they pretty much they pretty much put him in prison. They pretty much took him away from his family. They pretty much ruined his life, all because they made comics, fan art comics that these people apparently didn't like. So honestly, all I have to say regarding this, and maybe some of these similar incidents that do occur with this, it is not cool, and it pretty much ties into what we are trying to tell you guys right now. Do not art shame, and do not ruin lives just because of fan art.
I have to say, just don't art shape. I mean, look, I have to follow these fan artists because they make great art, and I'm not going to shame them for just making something R34. I mean, I'm going to be a fan of them no matter what. But if it just goes to continue, if they just continue on making more and more of that stuff, then yes, I will probably judge. I'll probably judge more and more and say I will not follow you because you're making something that's absolutely disgusting. So, you know, that's my stance when it comes to this kind of stuff. But when it comes to like the old was it Safe Loud House people that were there before, they're technically gone now because they don't do that anymore. But it left a big bad mark when it comes to the fandom, because it's like, okay, you're pointing out way a lot of stuff of bad fan art. I understand that, but don't go to the levels of actually doing whatever. Like, for example, Jump Jump's situation where you called the cops and called him a pedophile and made him go to jail. That's not what you're supposed to do. If you're a fandom, just deal with it. And some of you have maybe a little bit immature about this, but some of you have to be saying like, you know, that's his stuff. Just go away from it. Don't like take action and immediately say, hey, you have to make sure this guy doesn't do this anymore. Let's go call the cops on him, or et cetera, et cetera. It's just not the way a fandom is supposed to be, you know?
Yeah, we're supposed to be better than this. We're supposed to be better than this.
Although to be honest, like, this goes on for every fandom too, and I wish every fandom can understand why this kind of stuff is terrible. Like, you know, calling people out. I remember a certain time. I remember a certain time where a person got. This is going to a different fandom, actually, the Owl House fandom. I remember a certain time where a artist got shamed because he drew Lou's white, and it's like the coloring is like there's a little darker skin there. I'm like, no, it's not white, it's like tan. But then she had to, then it made him like get out of Twitter and redo the whole thing, and it's like, this is something that's not supposed to be addressed at all. Like, this is something like the fan artist did, and it was a mistake for one thing, but don't shame him out like that. It's not how a fandom is supposed to be at all.
Yeah, honestly, like this is another case example of art shaming that happens not just in the Loud House fandom, but also in different fandoms like the Owl House fandom, like you just pointed out. And also another thing that I also want to tell you is that honestly, the way I look at it, art is subjective. Opinions are subjective. Opinions on a certain piece of art that you look at is subjective, no matter what. Whether it's fan art, fan fiction, canon stories, whatever, people need to remember that at the end of the day, if someone likes or dislikes a certain piece of art, it's just a matter of opinion. It doesn't determine that they are good or bad fans. It just determines their opinions.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I mean, the whole fact about art shaming is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, like, there's a lot of that all over Twitter, and I would imagine a lot of other places like DeviantArt or Instagram or Facebook. Social media really does get a little bit toxic when it comes to talking about fan arts and stuff, because you don't need to talk about this. I understand R34 could be a little bit hateful because yes, it is absolutely going over the line when it comes to the show, but you can't hate them for that. Let them do their work. I'm not gonna hate them for that. Like, you know, let them do the work. I'm not, you know, I'll probably not like you for doing that kind of stuff, but I'm not gonna go all out and just say like, look, I don't want to, I don't want this person anymore. Call the cops, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. It's way out of line when that happens like that. And I'm pretty sure after that situation that happened with Jump, everything is pretty much situated from there, and hopefully has situated from there, because we don't want to do that again. Because nothing like this should ever happen at all. When it comes to every fandom, when it comes to Loud House, Casa Grande, any fandom, it cannot happen again.
Yeah, honestly, like we need to stop more live. We need to stop people from ruining more lives.
Right, exactly. Look, it's the fan artist person. If they want to draw that kind of stuff, that's fine with them. They have their fans. They'll have their fans who likes that kind of stuff. But we can't just immediately say like, I follow you, I hate you now because you made R34 art. Now it's time for me to like banish you from all of social media, which happens a lot in comes to social media. It's kind of sucks because I thought social media would be really fun and all. There's a lot of toxic side when it comes to social media now.
It's like I'm sorry. What gives you the right? Like honestly, I tell these people who pull this kind of crap, like what gives you the right to tell an artist like how to draw art? Like it's his art, okay? He created. He's a creator, okay? You don't own the rights to any piece of fan art. Therefore, you do not have any say in how he can draw his art. He can do it however he wants. Deal with it.
That's right. All right. So I do want to talk about a certain. Now, here's the thing that I also want to bring up. We did actually make like a checklist of like things that you should do when you're thinking about joining a fandom. So I want to bring this up because it's pertaining to Rule 34, and this pretty much is to any association joining into any fandom. No matter what show you'll get into, you'll see something that goes on in the lines when it comes to Rule 34. So I'll start off with this point here. Number one, what is your tolerance level for seeing fan art that is 18 plus? If you have a person who doesn't follow your tolerance or likes stuff that way beyond your tolerance to Rule 34, you might want to consider not following them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, like you don't have to follow them, but like just click the unfollow button and just leave it at that. Simple as that. Like, don't go beyond just unfollowing them. That's just
Right.
not. Yeah.
So let's head over to the second point here. Is that person talking about Rule 34 reasonably about why he likes that stuff? And if that person talks mostly about how hot a character is, like example Ola and Lana, even young like that, consider not following that person like at all. Like literally, get them out of your life, take them away. Do not follow them. Do not even be a friend with them, please.
If they are young, if they are underage, let's say, but if it's a young adult, then you know what? If you find them attractive, if they're young adults, mind you, then you know what? It's fine. It's perfectly understandable. But like, I know I sound like a broken record, but saying this, but if they're talking about how they find under 18 kids attractive, then like I said, call the police.
To say the least, if it's in the tolerance level of 18 plus, then you should be okay with what's happening there because they're adults. You know, they draw them as adults. There's head canons. There's a lot of that around. So if they draw something like that, then that's okay. But if they continue to draw like underage stuff, then yes, of course, do not oblige to say something about it, but do not go into action and actually arrest a person or something like that. We've been putting this a whole lot throughout this episode, but we just want to put our point out there. Do not do things like that. Do not take action. Let them do what they do. They have their fans.
Yeah, honestly, like like I said, this is Rule 34 we're talking about. So I know we might be contradicting ourselves a little bit, but we're talking about Rule 34, okay? Like
this is hard. This is hard to talk about. This is just hard to talk about.
it's an explicit subject, okay? So
It's very
of course we got to be careful with what we say here.
right. Right. Okay, so let's head over to the third point here. Should I consider following a fan artist or a fanfic writer if he or she continues making R34 stuff? This one, to be honest, is tricky. There are many that draw or write it, but it has to be based on your comfortability with those who make them. If you start to feel more comfortable with what they're making, then consider not following them or even being their friend. They'll eventually understand.
Yeah, like you just pointed out, this really is tricky. Now pretty much like you pretty much just said it all in terms of this particular part. Then if you're uncomfortable with the fan art that they do, then honestly just keep your distance from them. It's good for you, and it could possibly be good for them.
Right. All right, so now there's one more point that I also want to bring up. If you see someone like that kind of stuff, don't immediately judge them. I mean, do some analysis first, whether it be looking up on their social medias or just even conversating with them, and see if that's somebody that you really want to hang out with.
Yeah, honestly, it kind of goes without saying, but before you try to befriend them or follow them, you really have to look at them thoroughly. Like, look at how they are, judging by their social media, their profile, and based on what you've basically seen. Just do all that before you take the final step. The final step, which is being friending them or following them, because chances are, like, if you take the final step too early, you may regret it later on based on some of the new information that you've heard about them or seen about them.
Right, right. Obi, do you have any other things you want to add to this checklist?
Hmm. Not that I can really think of, honestly.
I see.
This is
So
a topic I'm not very knowledgeable about, so there's not really much to add.
right. Okay, so let's just wrap this up here because it's just way too much to talk about. So after following this checklist, you should be okay with joining a fandom you wish to, whether it be a cartoon, a comic, a movie, etc. Everything has a fandom, and you should not let smut like Rule 34 or Rule 63 really affect what a fandom looks like. Do your research, and you should be okay joining a fandom.
Yeah, honestly, it kind of goes without saying, but this kind of smut like R34 and R63, they come from a minority of fandoms. Well, majority or minority. I've seen them mostly on the minority of fandoms that really do this, like a small percentage of fandoms do this, but that's only it. Just a minority of said fandom. I don't really see a grand majority or 80% of the fandom doing this kind of art. It's mostly less than 50%.
Right, right. Okay, so with that in mind, that's pretty much it for our Rule 34 talk. Oh, geez, that's a lot to talk about, but thankfully that was it.
We made it out, though. We made it out alive.
Yeah. So now I did put something up on Twitter about this subject, and let's actually go ahead and talk about. Let's actually bring up our question here. I did bring it up. We can now bring it over to our fans' reaction part of the podcast here. I did put up a question about Rule 34 and why fans are being victimized. Why are we victimized on this rule, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to bring up a couple of them that should be addressed here. I mean, there's some of you guys that actually say like you're playing a dangerous game. Oh no, this it's like yeah, we knew that. We knew that we are going to go into a dangerous field here. We understand that. This was absolutely hard to talk about with this 2-hour podcast that we're currently on right now. All right, so let's head over to one of the reactions from one of our good friends, Natalie. She actually brought up this part here. As someone who was around during the whole safe house versus loot house stuff, I can tell you that it's because of the fact that the main cast are all minors. We know that Laura's 18 as of season 5, but the characters being minors is canon and what turns people off of it. One thing that irks me about the Rule 34 in the fandom, though, is that many artists don't even bother to age up the characters. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen loots of Lincoln and Ronnie Ann where they're still 11 years old, which is true. Yeah,
honestly, it's just gross to see. Just, oh god. Like, honestly, if you're gonna do fan art of your favorite characters, at least age them up, please. At least age them up to like 18 and up. Age them up to adults, please. Thank you.
Okay. Now, this person, Peppermint Jax, I actually follow her fan art. She's a great friend. She's a great person. You can take my opinion with a grain of salt because you might want people who actually or actually the fandom, but like I feel like people could tolerate the show more if people weren't absolute freaks with the incest slash child for the and so effing open about the homophobic bigotry. Every fandom has an issue when it comes to that kind of stuff, and all that I know, but this one fandom has a really bad case of it. Also, as a gay woman, I like to draw Saluna or have headcanons like Sam is a trans lesbian without bigots adding in the 2 cents I never effing asked for. That's a lot to talk about there.
Well, that's nice that you like to draw Luna because I'm a Saluna shipper myself. So I say, hey, keep it up with those fan arts. So, but yeah, in all seriousness, though, like people, like I said, people could take it too far up to a point where it gets uncomfortable. Like even for me, who doesn't really so much mind Rule 34, like there are some of those fan artists that take it way too far up to point where I'm just like, okay, you need help.
Right, exactly. All right, let's head over to this person here. Now, he pretty much summarized it like this. To summarize it, whether there's light, there's also shadow. Right. That absolutely makes sense there.
I think that's life. Where there's light, there's also shadow.
Yeah, where there's light, there's also shadow.
Like it's not just this subject, it's regarding like all other subjects as well. Like every single thing has its light and shadow, so it goes that.
So I know that one of our followers is currently watching our YouTube right now. I do want to bring out his points here, but I'm not gonna explain it out loud. I'm just gonna put it up right here. Loud says 1. No, I'm not gonna put number 2 up there. That's a lot to say there. 3, yeah. 4. Okay, let's talk about the foot fetish part because that's absolutely disgusting. I've seen a lot of foot fetishes in Loud Casa art, and it's a disgrace when I stroll around DeviantArt, and in more specific, the Loud Sisters or any cute girls. Girl Jordan, Bobby Fletcher, etc., etc. Some of these apply to boys too. Disgusting. Stop it. Right. It absolutely is disgusting. I don't know why people like that kind of fan art, but it's disgusting.
You have no idea the amount of foot fetish that I've seen. Like characters with their big, gigantic feet, make like bare foot. Not only that, they're not even done well at all. Like most of these are photoshopped or MS painted. So they're not even drawn with effort. They're just giving them bare feet just for the sake of bare feet. Only someone like Dan Schneider would find this acceptable.
Yeah. God, that was terrible. I actually do want to bring up another rule that our friend is currently on YouTube at. It says here, any thoughts on Rule 85, the pony rule? Actually, I don't know the pony rule.
I'm not getting into that. Thank you.
I think it's like what everybody turns into ponies.
I never really stumbled upon that rule, and I rather not. But thanks, thank you for pointing that out.
I guess I don't know. I never actually thought about the pony rule, but thank you, Irvi. This person right here who said about it. There you go. There's a person. Okay. Anyways, that's pretty much it. This was a very hard thing to read. That's the reason why we took 2 weeks to actually talk about it. So, thank you for surviving throughout all of that, Omid.
Yeah, honestly, like while it wasn't easy, it was most certainly fun to talk about it with you, man. Oh yeah, and also, vote for Luna.
Luna won, but I'm gonna put my prop out here for Lori. Lori needs to win. Come on, guys. Lori needs to win. You guys have to vote for her, but you guys did not do that. I'm still mad at you all.
Let's go.
Oh my god. All right, so thank you very much for listening to our Loud Casa Talks. But remember that you can be able to listen to our Loud Casa Talks. It's available on these podcast providers: Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of that stuff. I ain't gotta read all of that. There's a lot of podcasts providers that are available for us. So if you're a fan of any of those, you'll be able to listen to our Loud Casa podcast there. But next week, as we continue on our series talking about the Loud House fandom, we want to talk about those who continue to judge the show. Like why they continue to be quote unquote fans if they're just going to criticize every single little bit when it comes to the Loud House and the Casa Grandes. Why they continue to downplay the show, say why do they continue to say things like this or that? It's a sign that the show is falling from greatness, that kind of stuff. You know, those kind of comments that, you know, can turn a fan down when it comes to becoming a person in the fandom for all that, but not okay when it comes to like fans who really love the show.
Yeah, honestly, we got a lot to touch upon that because honestly, they're just like a very there's a great amount of case examples that just, you know, have really irked me in the past whenever I've seen those kind of comments. So trust me, we're gonna delve really deep into that. Just you know, just keep an eye out.
For sure. All right. So thank you very much for listening into the Loud Casa Talks. This was absolutely a really hard subject for us to do, but we were able to actually get through this subject in under 2 hours. So it's great.
It was hard, but it was necessary. Like, if this was something that we had to bring up sooner or later anyway. So I'm just glad we decided to do this now.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, this is how the podcast is going to go for season 2. But anyways, thank you very much for checking in. My name is Nate, and my friend Omid is currently over at the Casa Grande side here.
And this is your boy Omid saying thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching Loud Crowd and Casa Crew. And until next time, see you later, dudes.
All right. Thank you very much.